My name is Rick Mannon, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Jocelyn Jay for swimming. Jocelyn was a member of the Brantford Aquatic Club for almost 20 years. She competed at multiple Canadian national championships and 3 Olympic trials, narrowly missing the 1992 Olympic team in the 400 IM. As a national team member from 1990 to 1993, she represented Canada at the Pan-Pacific Championships, the World Cup circuit, and the Hawaii Tri-Camp. While in Sweden, Jocelyn was a member of the Canadian record-setting 4x200 free relay. She was a 3-time Big Ten champion, 11-time NCAA All American, and former Big Ten Athlete of the Year. Jocelyn, what drew you into your sport?
Well, my parents put me in it. I didn't have a choice to start off with. And then when I was 11, 12, I started to plateau somewhat, and my parents offered me incentives but said I had to swim until I was 12. That was the requirement, just growing up by a pond in the Nith River and everything else. So, but then somewhere in that 12th year, I just learned to enjoy wanting to be better. So I learned, I had a great coach in Hans, and I think I learned and I saw what others were doing. So I liked the whole idea of traveling. I wanted to do that. I liked the whole idea of free clothes and free bags and stuff from making teams. I wanted that, and just enjoyed just trying to be better, stronger, faster.
Good. Okay. Do you have any mentors that have had an impact on your life, sport, career?
I'd say Mark Fellner was my senior swim coach, and he taught me to be independent. He taught me to not be intimidated by the competition and to try and be a different person getting up on the block, having a whole killer mentality. I had to learn that. And then just in life, he was more about me as a person too. Helped me set goals and made me see what I was capable of. I think a coach sometimes can always see that before you do as an athlete. And then Jim Montrella, who is my university coach down in the States. Again, someone that I looked up to because he wasn't afraid to show vulnerability. I think I saw that right on my recruiting trip, and that's what drew me to him. And just the way that both of them live their lives, just constantly wanting to be better, right? And just how involved they were with me, so they could tell if something was up and they wanted to talk about it. It wasn't just about trying to get what they could out of me as an athlete.
Terrific. What are some of the highlights of your sporting career?
It's funny, I look back on my career, and I think 3rd at Olympic trials, just missing the Olympic Games in '92. As much as that killed me for a while, I think I look back now and see the value of how close I got. Making the national team, swimming for Canada, was a big deal. But then I look back at some of the challenges and how I learned about the sport. That, when I was at university, I remember a dual meet at Penn State. My sister went to Penn State. It was her first year, my last year. We swam the same events. She would swim some of the sprints, but our breaststroker was sick. She didn't swim well. We were looking to win this meet because we'd never beaten Penn State on the road, and she didn't swim well. And I was prepared for him while I was warming down for my distance event to come over and say, I need you to step up and swim the 200 breast. And it's all girls, so then finish the 200 breast and get right back up on the block for the 500. And I thrived on those challenges. I pulled it off. I won both of them, and that's just exhilarating. And so I think that's my best memory. Yeah. Yes, I swam for Canada. Yes, I have done some good things, but that, I think, is just to be able to rise to the challenge and achieve it. I think I loved.
Super. How has sport impacted your life?
Well, it's funny because I've just come back to start swimming again in the last year. And I'm swimming with a non-swimmer, non-athlete really. And just, you see really quickly that body awareness is huge. Learning how to push yourself beyond that, where you think you can go, you find it. And just all the transferable skills that you gain from having to balance a sport with the rest of life. It's helped me with family, it's helped me with managing tired and organized and, all those things. I think it's a lot of tangible stuff or intangible stuff that you just can't necessarily put a finger on, but, just learning how to just grit. And I think sport introduced me to my husband. It's something that our family revolves around, and I think that much like performance and all those things, it's something that's so valuable that you'll have forever.
What does it mean to you being inducted into the Sports Hall of Recognition?
It's a huge honor when you see all the names of people that have been inducted. It's so honorable to be included in with all these people. You feel so small in the grand scheme of things, and then when you get into something of this magnitude, it just makes it all surreal. It makes you realize that all the time and the early mornings and the effort and the injuries and things that you worked through, it all comes out the other side. It's pretty cool. It's definitely an honor, a huge honor, and to be included with such big names in this Hall of Fame in little old Brantford is just really cool.
What advice would you share with a young aspiring athlete?
I think the biggest advice I would share is don't be afraid to develop a relationship and trust your coach, but at the same time, don't be afraid to ask questions. I think having coached the sport myself also, the athletes that I had the most success from were the ones that were able to open up and let the walls down and let in more than just the sport. And the relationships that I had both with all my coaches really, they help you grow as a person and as an athlete. And I think too many times, parents, I think, get in the middle of that triangle. I think they're a very valuable side to the triangle, but I think that the coach-athlete relationship is so important to learn to trust. But again, like I said, ask the questions. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. There's never a silly question. It's an understanding of the process and where you're going.